Welcome back everyone, I'm James the Tie Guy, and today we're going to be taking a look at something pretty special. This is the Behind the Workbench booklet. It's the first item that backers of the Haslab Jabba Sail Barge project are getting. It's 64 pages long, and it details the work that went into the building and the models of the original sail barge used in Return of the Jedi. Then it goes on to have some interviews with the creators of the new toy version that Haslab or Hasbro is making, as well as some CAD designs early on of it, and just some general information that I found interesting when I was reading through it myself. I wanted to put it on here so that everybody that wanted to could have a chance to see it. I'm going to do a page-by-page flip through of it, just a quick overview. I know that not everybody had a chance to get in on the project itself, so I wanted to let anybody that wanted to see it as it comes along. I plan on doing updates every time Hasbro sends out one to us, just discussing it all the way up to the release of it next year in late February approximately. Originally this booklet was supposed to be sent out a couple weeks ago, but Hasbro got such a large influx of orders in the last few weeks of the project that they weren't prepared for it. I don't think they planned on it going past 5,000, because for a while it didn't even look like it was going to hit that number. But in the last few weeks it really jumped up like crazy and went up to a little over 8,000 total orders. So they waited until they had enough printed to fulfill them at the same time, and I'm kind of glad they did that. I hope they do the same with the barge, even though I backed it early on. I think it's better off for everybody if they just send out all the units once they're done, instead of sending them out piece by piece. Just like everybody to get at the same time as much as possible. I think that'll just be a better experience overall, but that's just my opinion. Other people might feel differently about it. The book is really nice. It's got foil printing here. You can kind of see it shimmering in the light, and then the Return of the Jedi logo. This is how they did some of their card backs on the Vintage series, so that's nice. Little details here. It's paperback, of course, but it feels premium. There's nothing wrong with it that I can find. I think it's fine for what it is. The page here is has a little texture to it. It's almost rubbery like. It came in just a plain white mailer with Hasbro's information at the top. I'll try to show it to you here. Just a white mailer, nothing too special, and then it was shrink wrapped in some plastic. No damage or nothing to it when it got here, so I was happy to see that. So if we take a look, I'll scoot it over here so I can get as much in it in the frame as I can, because it's kind of long when open. First page has just got some information here about the images, riders, things like that. The back of the barge, of course, when it was still in its CAD form on a computer, making a Jabba sail barge. That's the first page there. We asked, you answered. It talks about the Khetanna and how it came to be in the actual film, and then you see some renderings here showing the Jabba figure, of course unpainted. This is just some concepts, but it will include the scale 3.75 inch Jabba figure with it when it comes. Looking through here, I will say it looks like they put a lot of effort into this to get as much right as they can. So I think it's going to be a really neat thing when it actually comes to fruition, and when we get the actual barge to display. It's going to be pretty cool, I think. Here's its table of contents. From You Asked, We Answered. Expert insights from Mark Boudreau. Of course, he's the lead designer of it. He's been with Kenner/Hasbro since the beginning. He's worked on every 3.75 inch scale Millennium Falcon that they've made, so he's pretty much like the godfather there. This, of course, is him on his computer drawing on it, and then here's some pictures of him from back when Kenner was doing this in Cincinnati. Four computers, of course, and both these when he just basically used an easel and just raw drawing skill to come up with these concepts. And it goes on to talk about Lucasfilm Concept. So this is the barge itself, how it came to be from some of Ralph McQuarrie's original drawings. You see here, they modeled it after actual river barges used for hundreds of years in the Orient. So that's basically where it got its look from, with its sails and everything else. And these are some more concept drawings. You see Ralph McQuarrie's initials and then the date that they were done here. This, of course, is it over the Sarlacc pit. In the beginning of the book, it talks about how the Khetanna is pretty significant. I know it didn't have a lot of time in the movie, but a lot of things happened in that one scene, from Princess Leia showing her how much of what a person she really is, killing Jabba with her own imprisonment chains, and then it goes on to talk about, you know, Boba Fett going into the Sarlacc pit, Luke showing his green lightsaber for the first time, different things like that, stuff that you might not think about necessarily just in passing. And then, of course, this is another drawing from January 31st of '82. So this is when it was in its final design phases before actually being built. Here is the official Lucasfilm blueprints. So here's the design render of it. This is almost the finished product here. I think it talks about there's just a little little changes that they added here. The revised position of the Barge sail supports and showing where Norman Reynolds signs off on it. So this is pretty much right as it came to be. Here's some more overviews of it. Again, this is before computers were mainstream, so this is all hand drawn. Now this is the sail barge set sail. Something that I knew but I hadn't really thought about in a long time was that the sail barge that they used was actually full size. They built it in the Yuma Desert here in the US. They had a fence around it here, cyclone fencing, to try to keep people out, but it says it didn't stop curious fans and onlookers from riding their dune buggies out into the desert basically to take a look at it. So it was there. It was a short scene overall, but a lot of work went into it. You can really tell that this came towards the end of the movie trilogy, because the budget for this had to be huge, and since this is the third in the series, they could do a lot more with this than they could in the original movie, because the first two had done so well. They had a lot more to spend on this one. So that's before it had its cladding and sails, of course. This is the nose of it, where the cockpit is, and this the skiff that Han, Chewie, Luke, and Lando were on. It's called the Bantha II cargo skiff. I never actually knew it had a name. Of course, it was made to look like it was hovering, but it was being held there by supports over the pit. There's Luke igniting his green lightsaber for the very first time when R2 shoots it to him from inside his dome. And then if we go on here, here's a full size, full shot of it when it's almost done. They're putting the sails up on it. I like these full page drawings are nice. Because again, the sail barge was never something you hear a super lot about because of its short screen time, but it was a huge part of the movie, and that as far as the resources it took to make it. And these full page drawings really show you that scale. Here's the back of it, of course, with the shades, which they say the toy is going to have these functioning ventilation shades on it. They used this picture a lot, they said, to get the underside of the sails right and the bracing for it, because they didn't have very many drawings of this underneath of the sails. So that's what they used as their main design inspiration on the toy. And then this is the set model design, still back in the 80s, where they're making the actual set model, airbrushing it. So it's big here, but it looks like almost a scale that the toy will be in, maybe a little bigger, but not by a whole lot. These are, of course, from the movie, inside scenes, C-3PO, R2 being used as a server, yak face, which the backers of this actually are getting a yak face figure in original Power of the Force packaging with coin. I can't imagine what that's going to be going for on eBay whenever this comes out, because people are already trying to sell this book for $100, which is kind of crazy. But I knew that something like that would happen with something so limited. So here we get on to the original, or to the barge that we're going to have here in the future. This is Hasbro designing it. The people that are behind it, Mark Boudreau, of course, is the top dog, so to speak, in it. Steve Evans, he's in a lot of the groups that I'm in on Facebook. I've talked to him a couple times. He tries to participate in them. He's a really nice guy. So it was neat to see him being part of this. He also introduces a lot of the Marvel Legends items that Hasbro makes, so he has a lot of work that he does there. So, but it's nice to see him taking the time to go on Facebook forums too and talk to the fans and customers. So these are the team, basically, all the way down to the writer of the book. So this is talking about phase 1. A while back, several years ago, there was actually a Bring on the Barge petition that was done, which got a lot of signatures. Fans have been wanting this for a long time. And I've seen people say that they wish Hasbro had started this Haslab initiative with something like a Star Destroyer or a Death Star or other things. But, you know, those can come down the line. I'm kind of glad they did this, because this is something that's a huge vehicle, but it's not so big that it can't be done in scale with the most common of figures, which is 3 3/4 inches. Star Destroyer at that scale would be bigger than a house. Even if you shrunk it down to micro machine size, it would still be as big as a room could hold. So this is something that is going to have a lot of impact in somebody's collection. But at the same time, it's still going to be something that will scale with figures that a lot of people already have, the 3 3/4. So I like that about it. I see a lot of people are already starting to stockpile figures that would have been on or around the barge. So it has a chance to be a really nice centerpiece of anyone's collection. And here we have phase 2 of it, where they committed to doing it if it could get backed. This is like a blow up of all of its different pieces that would go together. It talks about some things that will need to be assembled by the consumer, like the sail, some of the sails, and then some of the deck pieces of it. The deck cannon it talks about here, they used an ILM Blueprint, as well as a Tory that was made back in 2001 as their guide for it. It is going to be a non-firing gun, which is fine with me, because this isn't a toy really. Making it non-firing allows the barrels to be movie accurate, so I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't care if it shoots little projectiles or not. I want it to be as movie accurate as possible, so I'm glad that they actually made that decision. It talks about how they used a ladder instead of a staircase. They made, well, it's basically like a staircase ladder hybrid, as it says, so it doesn't look like a straight ladder. It's actually kind of a mix of the two, so it still looks good, but allows them to get around any issues that they had, which was needing a structural bulkhead somewhere in it to provide support. Here's all the individual parts where they actually built it, modeled it, and actually made a tangible product that they eventually showed at the toy fair. So here we have all the little parts. Here's the sails. Will require some assembly, which they mentioned that already on the website about it. It talks about some small components that need to be attached by the consumer. The parts are still to be determined. Little complex detailed pieces here. It talks about Jabba and his throne will be in the bottom of it, where he would have been in the movie, because due to the desert heat, of course, his throne room would have been in the bottom of the sail barge, as far away from the twin suns of Tatooine. Here's some cross sections of it and dimensions. 49.36 inches long, over 14 inches wide. It will come with these little legs, not part of the actual sail barge in the movie, of course, but it's to help it display, so I'm glad they're going to include those because it's probably going to be pretty heavy, I think around 15 pounds. So it needs something substantial to support it. Here's an unpainted version of it, of course, but the cockpit. And then here's the armory with some nods to Jabba's Gamorrean warriors. They're going to have one of those mounted somewhere in there, I believe. And then the cockpit, it mentions they didn't have many designs to go by, so a lot of it came from their imagination with the pedals and the controls, monitors, a lot of detail. I never actually thought about the cockpit when I watched the movie because you don't actually see it or even where it would be, but it's there in the very front of it, and apparently it had 2 drivers. Here's the galley, right down to the spigot, the drain. It talks about some catches of the day for Jabba's dinner. Got the drain in the floor, the overhead here above the cooktop. Here's Jabba in his throne room. There's the Gamorrean head there. And then there's some, it looks like a Rancor, which is Jabba's favorite pet until Luke gets a hold of it. So I like all these nods to Jabba. The detail in this, if it comes out looking like this, which I really hope it does, I hope that they don't run into constraints or budgets of some kind where they have to cut a lot of this out. I really hope it comes out looking like this because that's going to be completely awesome if it does. And hopefully for the money it does, because it is an expensive item. Here's the jail cell with a skeletized version of Momal Nadon. Well, not him, but his species. And then you've got the deck guns, which it's supposed to have several of these, like in the movie. That's how it defended itself, besides its main cannon. And then this part is kind of neat. This is like a see-through parchment page with a sketch on it, the blueprint. So when you have it here, it kind of shows through so you can see the blueprint, and then when you flip it over here, it does the same for this side, and then you can just flip it back and forth. Feels really premium. It's a nice little touch they added to it. This looks all hand drawn for the most part here, so some initial sketches of it. There's the other piece that goes with it. So that's towards the end. These are the last few pages. This is a cutaway of it, the unfinished product, of course, but it gives you a lot of details about what it will look like. So it's going to have Jabba and Yak Face, although I doubt there's many people that'll take him out of the packaging. But if you have another one, or if you take him out, that's where most people are going to set him. That is a Rancor, so I hope that makes it into the final project, final item. There's the galley, the armory, the staircase we were talking about. It's like a ladder slash staircase, so blending of both. This figure won't come with it, of course, like Jabba's guards, some of the Weequays and others, but those figures they were easy to get, but they're kind of starting to get harder because people are buying them up in anticipation for this to be displayed. So if you have any desire to do that, or you don't have any yet, it's probably something to start thinking about, because they're going to surge in popularity. I guarantee closer this gets to being final or made and sent out. So there's the last page. Basically just says it'll be well worth the wait, and confident that it will. Time's going by quick already. Seems like it was just the other day they announced it, and then the 45 days were up, and now we're several weeks past that. We got the booklet, so it'll be next February, the end of February, March, before you know it. When this started, it was over a year away. Now it's less than a year away, so that's nice. Can't wait to get it, and of course I'm going to be doing updates as they become available. I give some thoughts on it, anything else that I can do about it. If I think of that, I'll make sure and make a video of it. And then of course, once I get the actual barge, it's going to be something to see. I plan to do something big for it. So there it is. If you have any questions or would like to see anything particular, any page that you didn't get a chance to look at very good, just let me know and I'll do my best to accommodate you. You can do so by contacting me through any of my social media links that are in the description, or my channel's Facebook page is also a good way to reach me, or the comments section here on YouTube. Thanks everyone again for supporting me and watching the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. That would help a lot. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Appreciate everybody again. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and may the Force be with you.